I could do anything, right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, what makes him any more different than me?
Yeah.
I felt like I had something else, made more sense for me. So then I left that venture and came down to LA. That's why we named the company Culture Genesis, because we wanted to start with the culture. So culture and Genesis, the beginning.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Brandy Harvey. I'm so excited that you've decided to join us for another week of thought-provoking, inspiring conversations over here at Vault Empowers Talks. This week is no different. I know y'all are going to be in for something really special because we're talking all things technology today, but all things the culture. So if you are ready, go ahead, get your notepad ready. But what I need you to do, I need you to like, I need you to share, I need you to subscribe and join the Vault Village because we have more thought-provoking conversations on the way. So if you're ready, let's go. Founder of Culture Genesis, the largest Black-owned digital network, proud HBCU graduate and member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Listen, this man is an entrepreneur. He is a tech investor. He is all things culture. If you're ready, Vault, welcome Cedric J. Rogers to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. This was a last minute situation.
Yeah.
Listen, you came in with a landslide for us to hit a home run today.
Hey, well, I'm happy to be here. I always want to make sure to say, Mike, I'm a co-founder of Culture Genesis.
Co-founder.
I want to, I have a great partner, Sean Newsom, that's helping me build this business. But yeah.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
So, co-founder, Sean, you are here in spirit today. So we are welcoming you here into this space. So, Cedric, I'm excited to talk to you because talk about being the largest Black-owned digital network. But you got your start in technology long ago. You are from Houston, Texas, Mo City, to be more exact.
Yes,
and you began as one of those little kids tearing apart the vacuum and the toasters, wondering, your mama was wondering why all her stuff was in pieces.
Little pieces of something worked, but maybe not as well as it did when I first got my hands on it. But I actually got really good with that, though, taking things apart, putting them back together, or just fixing things, around the house. So definitely technology has always been one of my first loves, outside of playing sports, so I grew up and kind of doing both things.
You had to play basketball.
Basketball and ran track, from
Okay.
Texas, so everybody can run fast in Texas for the most part. So I was a runner, played football, so I did all three actually.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of time, I went to college on scholarship in track, so.
North Carolina A&T?
Aggie Pride, yes.
Okay, listen, y'all Aggie folks, y'all are different.
We're strong.
Y'all got a whole different homecoming mindset,
Yes.
Okay?
Greatest homecoming in the world. That's what you say, G-Ho. That's it.
So you started off as this little kid who was tearing apart the vacuums in the toaster, but it led you after college to go to Apple.
Yes.
As one of the first Black folks who were pioneering in technology at Apple. So talk about your time here.
Yeah, I'll connect all those dots and just say, I was fortunate to, grow up in a family of entrepreneurship, but encouraged me, of course, still stay in the studies. Because I was so technical minded, I wanted to go do electrical engineering. So I went to North Carolina A&T. Jesse Jackson actually was a person who came and spoke at my school, and I was just like, I was thinking I was going to go University of Texas or Texas A&M. He was like, but how many of y'all are thinking about, I was at a prep school, so I was at many brothers there. He's like, how many of y'all think about going to HBCU? And I actually hadn't thought of it much. And then, he put it on my heart to think about A&T, and he set it up to get a visit. And once I got there, I was like, oh yeah, this is a nice place. It's a nice, beautiful place, a lot of scenery. So, so made me really want to go to A&T. And so once I got into engineering there and being around my people, I always felt like I wanted to do technology kind of that would impact us, that was always in my heart. And when I graduated, it's one of those things where, you want to get a really good experience. And so, and what's the hot thing? And let's be clear, Apple, when I started was very hot. This was not hot. I should take that back. we were in the beginning phases of what the iPod was starting to shape like.
What year was this? Because there are some folks watching this who may not remember.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm about to age myself.
The
It's cool.
the thick iPod.
Yes, before the, yeah, actually, a lot of people don't realize it started with Apple partnering with Hewlett Packard. I don't know if you remember that. And they had an iPod. This was before Apple was late actually into the MP3 player space. There was a company called Rokio that was pretty popular, that was dominating space. But what Apple was smart to do was to say, we're going to build this hardware and then make it really connect well with our computers. And then, of course, start to bring in what is now iTunes, and it's really, been massive in getting content onto the iPod and then the iPhone. So, so it was very early. It was 2003. When I started, and I ended my career at Apple in 2013. During that period of time, I learned so much because it was so early.
Yeah.
A lot of innovation was happening with Apple. When you think about, the iPod was being developed, and then once that happened, the ecosystem of iTunes and then the App Store, putting apps. So I went from starting there as a system engineer to then transitioning into a role that was really more developer relations, and that was really more about getting different types of apps onto the iPhone and the iPad. So my mindset that I always tell people that when I was at Apple, because I did come from a very entrepreneurial background from my parents.
Because your mom.
My mom, definitely.
Yeah.
She owned businesses. My dad as well. My mom in Houston, she actually got into childcare when I was born. So my mom didn't, different from, I have an older sister. I think my mother was like, I want to kind of do it a little differently with my youngest, and wanted me to be kind of around her. So therefore, she said, let me go into childcare business. And so she opened multiple locations across the city with my father, of course, supporting her on the finance side. So I was able to be around my mom all the time. And I became a bossy little kid because I thought I would own everything, so I was running around thinking I was telling people what to do.
Yeah.
But it did kind of really seed my mindset really for my entire life of wanting to own things and wanting to kind of build things and kind of build infrastructure for other people to be a part of. And, I was able to watch my parents employ so many people from our community, help people in two ways. One, they were helping all the employees, right, to be able to work for someone that looked like them, identify with them. And then, of course, all the patrons of the business, being able to help those parents who needed to drop their kids off. And we were able to even do like a late care, child care for like the parents who work second shift, third shift. So we did all kinds of things that really impacted the community. And I saw my parents do that for so many years. So like I said, that really was ingrained in me. And like I said, going back to Apple, what it made me do there, which was kind of interesting because it was early. Weren't a lot of black folks in tech then as they are now, way more now, which I'm happy about. I was able to go in there with a mindset like, I'm not going to be here forever, and I want to learn everything I can. And it made me kind of go at some of the executives of the company in a way that, like, I wasn't afraid of, I'm going to lose my job. Like, I would go and ask them questions. I would kind of make sure they were on my radar. I was on their radar, and they were on my radar to, like, how could I leverage them in some of the things I was doing. And it actually was pretty one of those things. It's kind of funny when I think back on it. I would email Steve Jobs. I would email Tim Cook, who's currently the CEO, and it would drive people crazy. Yeah, of course, my management, like, why are you emailing him? Well, I just want to know what he thinks about it. I want to share these things that I'm looking at, and it allowed me to work on projects with Steve and Tim to, which once again made me feel like I could do anything, right?
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, what makes Tim any more different than me?
Yeah.
Except for the opportunity, right? So I always encourage people when they're in Fortune 500 companies, don't be afraid to talk to the upper management.
Yeah.
It's the best way to learn.
Yeah, because they really want to give it to you.
They do.
Yeah.
And they want to know who's has the initiative.
Yeah, who's hungry.
Who's hungry, who's coming with new ideas. So for doing that, I was able to, like I said, launch several initiatives within the company. I did some things with HBCUs, which of course was a passion for me. I was able to do a couple of things in athletic vertical to take our technology there. So because of that, it really made me hungry then to get out. But what took me a while, because I was there almost 10 years, was...
Which most people don't stay places.
Nah, they treated me so good. Like, they gave me, we call RSUs, restricted stock units. the shares units, and it's kind of like one of those things where you kind of had this incentive and it becomes these golden handcuffs. It's like, oh man, the stock was doing so well.
Yeah.
I was doing well. And, but what really kind of finally lit the fire was I wanted to get my MBA at Emory University in Atlanta. So when I finished that program, it's kind of like, okay, I want more. And I'm not going to get it inside of Apple because it was our organization was great as it was. There's always so many opportunities, as you go up, right? It gets thin. And I said, okay, well, I want to go do my own thing. And so that's when I jumped out. It was actually Paul Judge, a serial entrepreneur out in Atlanta, investor, advisor, who kind of challenged me, a little bit because he went to Morehouse and was a, physics guy and computer scientist. And he was just like, hey, man, either you can stay at Apple helping them accomplish their dreams, or you can go out and take the risk and accomplish your own. And I was like, okay, that was like that was the kind of straw that broke the camel's back.
It was his push.
Yeah.
And most people get that push. It takes that one person, whether it's that I've been watching you from a distance, I've been looking at your work, you need to take this leap. And so he was the person that said, what you waiting on?
Yeah, basically, and it was, he didn't necessarily push me, but he got like that intellectual challenge where he,
and that's all you needed.
That's all I needed.
That's all you needed.
Because I was already halfway there, It was just one of those things. Because at the time, like a startup and people of color and startup, it was non-existent.
What year was this? Was this 2018 or just 2016?
No, this is like 2013.
Okay.
2013.
2013. You took your leap from Apple.
Yes.
And when you took your leap from Apple, what was the thing that you set out to do?
Build something that people will love. That was my thing.
Yeah.
I wanted to do something that also made impact. So I started my first startup. So I've been in 3 different ventures, right? And the third, thank God, has been doing very well. Well, the first one was one that was really my heart. It was called, the name of the company, I named it Higher Altitude. And the product we created was called Prism, P-R-I-Z-M. And what it was supposed to be focused on, or what it was focused on, was helping young people get exposure to kind of like all the people like someone like you or like your pops or anyone else that is kind of working in different industries, seeing what they did, what path it took to get there. Because a lot of times young people don't understand, especially in our community, don't know that it's not a straight line. It's like a zigzag of how you get to some things that you're most going to be passionate about and impactful.
Yeah.
And so that whole platform I created, built, had got a lot of traction with it, with youth organizations, Usher's New Love Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
Got a lot of you must want to work at your pops.
Yeah.
It's a nonprofit too. So it was cool, right? Something like you work it, but it's hard to monetize when you work with nonprofits because they only got so much money.
Listen,
right?
You are doing the Lord's work.
Exactly.
You're doing the Lord's work.
And I realized that I was doing a nonprofit. I was supposed to be doing a for-profit. And I said, this is not going to work.
So this is before investors. This is before fundraising and VC fundraising and angel investors. This is before this.
So check this out. So I had no investment. I put some of my own money in, right, to start it up, doing what they call a minimum viable product, right? So MVP, built that. When you're technical, you think you can do it on your own anyway. So I was kind of doing it all with a couple of friends of mine that I brought along with me. But then we quickly realized that we started getting traction, but it was just traction with the nonprofits and the youth, but it wasn't turning into dollars.
Money, yeah.
So it was like, this ain't gonna work. So I wound up kind of rolling that down. Paul actually was kind of somewhat advising me, along with a few others out there. And at the time, I was trying to get into Y Combinator under, Higher Altitude. Wasn't successful with that. But the guys, they liked me, right? And that's what happens with venture capital a lot of times. They may like the founder, but they don't like the founder's business.
So do you have to be invited into this incubator program?
Well, so they call it Incubator Accelerator with Y Combinator. And no, they actually have an application. You have to apply.
Okay.
And they vet you. And it's a hard vetting process because you have to do this application. Then they do this in-person interview. And the in-person interview is pretty, aggressive, right? In the sense that it's short and you got to be on your business and you got to be able to really spit kind of what you're doing and then take on the questions that they have, which are purely trying to throw you off on, positioning your business. And it felt almost kind of like I always teased the wife. I was like, well, that's almost like I'm pledging again, right? When I was trying to go through that process.
Ooh, listen, I know. I'm a member of Delta Sigma
Oh,
Theta.
so you know,
Yeah,
my
I
sister.
pledged at Epsilon chapter in Ohio State.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So you know, I'm a Kappa Alpha.
Yeah.
You know, but my sister is a Delta. My mom and my mom was born on the founding day, and then my niece. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
yeah. Great organization. But with that, yeah. So it was kind of like that. You know, you going through trying to kind of get them to like really see you.
Yeah.
It was a lot, and I didn't get accepted from the first business. So then moving on, you know, what happened was I told Paul I'm gonna write this down, and we both were into fashion, and we had this other idea. It's like, maybe you can come help me with this, and we did. It's called Look Live, very much fashion oriented, men's fashion. I even think about men's fashion today, and then think back even just shortly, 2015, 2014. People were not as into fashion as they are now. Think about all the men, like in basketball and football now. It's like a runway.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
But it wasn't that way.
Yeah.
Just really almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's funny enough. So we were ahead of that curve. We were like, yo, like this is the thing. More rappers are really getting deeper into fashion. So we built a platform that really did well, actually. And we got into Y Combinator. So I was the CEO at the time, and really. We were able to go through that process together. We got Paul on the side, and it was we ran through it. And so we got traction with that startup. But then I felt like I had something else, made more sense for me. So then I left that venture and came down to LA. And I wanted to come on the side of the table. So I became what they call entrepreneur in residence. And I was able to sit with one of a VC firm here in LA called Mucker Capital. So I was able to actually help founders, vet founders, and make investment.
I think Tristan Walker said he did something very similar.
Tristan definitely.
Yeah, he did something very similar. Yeah.
He did. I think he was with Sequoia.
I think so.
And so, that's actually a good path as a founder or want to be founder if you can kind of understand what venture capitalists are looking for, right? So you can kind of say, okay, that's what it looks like when you say this or don't say that, or what they really mean when they ask certain questions. And so it's a hard thing to kind of fall into as well. But I was fortunate enough for us to do that. Did that for a year. And the beautiful part about being an entrepreneur in residence is that they're looking for these three things you have to do in that role. One is really help current portfolio companies that have been invested by that venture capital firm. So anything is supposed to be kind of imparting that knowledge. Two, helping identify new startups that may be out there that the venture capitalist firm may want to learn about, the VC firm want to learn about and invest in. And then thirdly, you're supposed to work on your own idea. Like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah.
And so in Tristan's case, that's what he came out
with Double. Yeah.
And that. I think it was called Walker & Co., right? Was his company, Walker & Co. And so that's when I actually got connected through my fraternity brothers. Rashawn Williams is also a venture capitalist. Introduced me to my co-founder now. His name is Sean Newsom. He's like, you two is real smart brothers. Y'all should really get to know each other well.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. Me and Sean, we hit off. And we had this idea both because he's a software engineer, I was an electrical engineer. And we really wanted to build something that we felt that would impact our people, right? We felt like oftentimes it was always targeted at, other communities.
Yeah.
Not with us, not in mind. And so that's how we got started. That was a whole thesis of a company called Culture Genesis. So that's why we named the company Culture Genesis, because we wanted to start with the culture. So culture and Genesis, the beginning, right? So we're going to always start and end with the culture in mind. So that's
I was definitely thinking when I saw the name, I was like, so is that a little biblical vibe to it?
Yeah.
Because you got the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you said something that was really important, because you said that most people, and this might have been before we got, filming, that most of us think that it's this linear kind of pathway to success. But you are really saying that it was all these different zigzags that took place, because you took a year, you went through an incubator program, so I want you to give people a little age perspective, because many people think that it's going to happen overnight, that it's just you're going to pop out just the millionaire and you done raised $100 million. So kind of give us the truth, right? Kind of give us that zigzag path.
So So just to align with what you said, there's statistics that come out that show that the average actual startup founder is much older than people realize. The average startup founder is well into their actually late 30s, early 40s.
Wow.
Right? And you have to say, why is that? Well, the best startups are usually founded based on understanding that there's something broken inside of the big company you work for. So you work at this great company and you realize, oh, the company I work for is not actually solving this problem. And maybe the company doesn't want to because because the best thing in business you have to know is stay focused on what you do.
The bottom line.
And so Steve Jobs used to always say, like, focus is about what you say no to. And he says, I say no to millions of great ideas all the time, or good ideas, but I have to stay focused on great ideas. And that always sat with me. And that's the reason why you can see so many businesses come from, a good company that just did not want to put focus on that. And so a lot of times that means somebody has to work in the company for a few years. They have to get exposure, learn the skills, and then they jump out and go build that next company. And so you have to zigzag, or you have to have some time in industry to kind of learn these things. And so, that idea came from like when I was building, like I said, the first startup, Prism. I wanted young people to understand that it's not a linear, it's not a straight line. It is up and down. You're gonna look back and connect the dots and say, oh, that's why I did this, this, and this, and now it helps me build this.
Yeah.
Creative.
And they say that most millennials are not even staying at companies for 2 years.
I heard that.
Most millennials aren't even staying at companies 2 years. And so here you are, 10 years in to a huge global company, right? And you're learning along the way. And so what was like one of those biggest lessons that you learned by working for someone? Because everybody's a boss now. Yeah. Everybody's an entrepreneur and a mogul. But what was that lesson that you had to learn for yourself during that 10 years?
I mean, Apple's probably one of the best companies in the country. I can't, I got even though I got my MBA from Emory University, I got a great MBA. I don't work at Apple.
Absolutely, I can imagine.
Funny enough, Apple created Apple University, right at the time I was getting ready to kind of leave. And so I got a chance to kind of really go through that too. What the company was trying to accomplish was giving some of the main lessons that the company had learned through this period of innovation of the last 10 years. So like make sure, I think Steve also knew he was getting sick so they were trying to almost take what was in his brain and make sure that it stayed within the company, right? And there were so many wonderful lessons, but like one is about focus. That was the biggest one, right? It's about staying focused, saying no to good things so you can say yes to great things. The other one is like seeing around corners, how to like really be innovative, and like how do you look around a corner to know where things are headed, right? Talked about that a lot. I would also say another big one is about like how to have responsibility without control. That was a big thing in Apple, right? Because it's like you kind of get involved in the things because the company's kind of very secretive about things. So you always be working on something and not completely know every reason why you're working on this. It seems like, why am I doing this? But not because like, don't worry about that, but you're still accountable to this project and what we're doing. So like, I think those are things that really helped me then when I went out to build my own. But I would say, discipline and focus was a very big part of Apple that has really kind of stayed with me, now what I'm building. And so that's a big part of it. And I think, the cultural element. Steve Jobs understood culture in a different way. So oftentimes in our communities, when we say culture, we're talking about things that tend to like be dominated from us. People call
very swaggy.
And when you think of like whether it be like where did really hip hop come from? Well, hip hop is a culmination of like jazz and bebop and all these other things that we built, right? So stepping upon that. But when Steve thought of culture, he understood that when you want to build a technology, it has to resonate with the people, and it has to be something based upon what they really, really need.
Yeah.
And he focused on music. He loved music and knew that that was a big vein into tapping into innovation. In which, if you look at Apple today, like everything they've done has been based on, media, specifically music, but then of course production and like this. And that has led them to like innovating and creating things that people truly want. And it made him go a different direction and say like IBM.
Yeah.
That corporate feel, everything coming out of Apple was a little bit more aesthetically feeling towards the individual, right? And so it was completely focused on culture. So that was another thing that I took from that company, like stay focused on the culture, how people move, think.
And you told a story. I think you were on one of the stages. You told a story and you talked about how really the culture influenced when the iPod launched and the music. You were seeing colored faces
Yes.
to promote that.
Yes.
And so that was a real takeaway for you.
Yeah, I don't know if you may remember because it's a little while back, but Apple was real wise to like do these silhouettes.
Yeah.
The commercials where they had all these people dancing, and you could tell a lot of those were people of color, but they never had to show the skin color, right? But they were just showing the music and how people were enjoying that and that experience of the iPod. You could see the cable from the iPod to the hip or whatever, but so you knew what they were doing, listen to music, and they were resonating with the culture, right?
Yeah.
They played hit music, showing that technology, and Steve also knew like when every time he would pull out the iPod, he would not talk about the speeds and feeds and this and that. He would always say, "I got 1,000 songs in my pocket." He would make it relevant to your life. You know? Like people knew what that meant. Okay, I got 1,000 songs. Like that's cool. I'm gonna listen. Yeah. And he made it really resonate with people at the core. And I think that's what other companies missed out on, and that's why they would always kind of fall behind Apple, especially during that period of time. And so I think that is very key. And he knew and to tap into music. One thing Apple used to do is they would after each quarter he would have announcements talking about the numbers, how the company's performing. Oftentimes you have different people come perform, different music artists, comedians will come, Sinbad, all these kind of different people. John Legend, I just remember all kinds.
Listen, not Sinbad. That's that old school. You talk about Sinbad.
Yeah. He knew how to tap into culture.
Yeah.
And he understood that. He never necessarily articulated maybe the way like people now today are a little bit more explicit about it. But Steve, he knew what he's doing. He's very implicit. He had it weaved into everything that Apple was doing.
And so you really took that into how you created and co-founded Culture Genesis.
Correct.
And so with the culture, you've also been able to acquire many different forms of media, many different platforms. One of them being All Def, which if you are familiar, we grew up watching Def Comedy Jam. We watch all the people, even my father, in his leather pellet calais. Okay, he got on that leather pellet calais.
Had all the kings of comedy on there before they became the kings.
Exactly. Yeah. All of the. So you have since acquired all of the content and the platforms with All Def.
Yeah. So be very clear. Russell Simmons, was an innovator, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And, so much credit to him for creating Def Jam first in records, right?
Yeah.
Then he moved into the spaces you're talking about now in comedy and then poetry. So he did Def Comedy Jam and did Def Poetry Jams. So he had started all that. And then Russell had the foresight, once again, because he's an innovative guy, to say, I want to take that and think about this internet that's emerging.
Yeah.
How do I create the Def Comedy Jam of the internet?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's when he created a separate brand called All Def Digital. So Def Comedy Jam and Def Records, Def Jam Records, and then All Def are just brothers and sisters of each other.
Okay.
They're not the same brand, but it's of course all has a Def in it. It's all licensed under, so we have a direct license and everything that's under that, along with Universal Music Group owns Def Jam Records. So it's not the same, but what he did create in All Def was this new pathway for up and coming creators. He was completely focused on what today they call it the creator economy. But before all that, Russell would just have the right vision of saying, no, I want to take all the up and coming, especially black comedians who aren't getting a chance. I'm gonna help them get on through the internet.
Yeah.
So that's what All Def is. It's focused on rooted in comedy. Then we went into poetry, then music, and now we're into all these other verticals too.
So what do the other verticals look like?
Yeah, the verticals are, a big one is gaming, right? Thinking about like what is it look like to be black in gaming. Uh,
And it's so much money in gaming. Like
on the game.
I didn't even realize how much money these gamers are making. And they have like Olympic games and
Yes.
stuff. Yeah.
So esports is the, big industry. Then we also went into women. We wanted to also highlight women more. Not to say that women were being highlighted all that already, but we felt like there was just so many talented, funny sisters out there that we want to highlight. So we built the whole vertical there. Then we also went to, we did All That Latino. So 20% of our audience is already Afro Latino. So when you think about Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, like they were already a part of our audience, but we want to also double tap on it, like build out some really funny stuff that really is kind of, resident to mi gente, So we did that. And then another vertical we're dabbling with is, cannabis. We're in LA.
Yeah.
And so we have.
Who doesn't want a little cannabis in our life?
Yes. We call it All Death Element. Is the name of it. So, we got content that's very relevant to those who are, consumers
Of plant medicine. Plant medicine.
Yes.
That's the correct way.
Yes, exactly right. So we are definitely touching upon these spaces. We have some other aspirations too. Like there's some sports ideas. We have food. Black folks love some food.
Yes.
So we want to get into those verticals as well. We do Amari now, but we haven't developed a full out channel yet for those. So we have, and then travel is another good one. So we have a lot of aspirations to continue building out the brand, because what it does, it allows us to resonate with different, advertisers. Go deep with the community itself. Because Black folks, we're not a monolith, right? We have all kinds of interests.
Yeah.
Not always of us have the same interests, and so if you can build out these different verticals, you can tap into that.
So you talked about the creator's economy.
Yeah.
And so something that I saw you post recently, you were on a stage and you said, this is the creator economy. 50 million creators worldwide with $200 billion in revenue worldwide. No business in this day and time can be successful without content production.
Wow, you've done your research. I appreciate
it. If you sit here and don't say that, baby, I ain't doing my job.
Well, yes, I said those are my words verbatim, and that's true. I mean, where we are in today's time is what we're doing right now. It's funny, when you think about Martin Luther King, he had this dream, this vision for us as people to have opportunity. And actually the opportunity is so in front of us today more than ever before. You can build a business without having to need lumber, steel, or coal. Right? That's what you had to have back in the day.
Yeah.
Now you just need a laptop, camera, microphone, and you can get busy. And so that's where we are. And whether it's you are a young person that wants to code and write on your code on your computer, start to build out software, gaming, or the creator economy opens it up to where it's like, okay, well, I want to go into a specific space. I want to share. I want to bring other people on to share with me and build out a business. Small production companies are spawning up all over the world because of it. And so that's the great opportunity. So yes, for creators, no matter what you're into, you can go to your little corner of the world, the things you're into, you can build content for it, find a community. I always say it's the 3 C's. It's content, community, and commerce.
Content, community, and commerce.
Correct. So if you can get some content that people start to resonate, to come around, like your village here, then at that point, there's a lot of ways to start to monetize that, right? Advertisers, or you can sell products directly. And that's what creators are doing, right? They're leaving the 9-to-5s and creating content across these platforms: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube is the one I'm the biggest, most passionate about is YouTube.
Why?
YouTube, because, YouTube gives you this opportunity to create content and you can post it on the platform and never do anything. If you get enough people looking at it, you start making money.
Yeah.
With TikTok and Instagram, it doesn't quite work that way. You have to make content and then get a brand, hopefully, to kind of see what you've done, and then produce a branded piece of content and then put it back on your channel. I think it's not to say that's bad, because I love those two, but I love the idea of like what you're doing now. You just build up a catalog, and that catalog sits there on that platform, and it starts to make money for you, and you can while you sleep at night. That's what I do really love about YouTube. I think YouTube has done a lot to invest in the creator economy, and I also would say that YouTube is the largest streaming platform in the world.
Which is crazy. Because people don't really think about that. They don't think about it as it being a streaming platform. We only look at Netflix or Hulu.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, if you go start to look at the business, I mean, YouTube is I think over $30 billion business because of that, right? And so that's larger than a lot of other Fortune 500 companies,
Absolutely.
right? Google could literally spit out YouTube and have another, top probably 20 or so company in the world. So with that, you got to say to yourself, like, if I'm a creator, I got to be present there. Not to say that you won't be present everywhere else, but you want to be present on YouTube because that's where the money is. That's where advertisers are going. If you think about it, most kids that are like, you want to talk about your nephew,
Yeah.
like he or she would, they'll never know what it is to turn on Channel 2 News.
No.
No. They just will never know.
They don't even know what it's like to make regular phone calls. They have to FaceTime.
Yeah, everything's like
Yeah.
here
I need to see you.
and on demand, right? So
Yeah.
they're used to everything being when I want it, how I want it.
Absolutely.
And because of that, then it means, broadcast TV, even cable TV, not so much, right? They want to be on these streaming platforms. Like we said, Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix, YouTube, they're going to be the place at the end of the day for all content. And so if I'm a creator and I can be there with all the major broadcasters, I should do that.
So I recently interviewed David Shands on our show, and he has Social Proof Podcast, Sleep is for Suckers. That was his original brand. And what he said on the show was, the podcasters are the new celebrities. These are the people who are taking over. They're going to be the most recognizable faces that you see. They're going to be people who are making the most money. And so most people will look at this and say, everybody and their mom and daddy got a microphone and putting up something on Instagram or a reel or whatever, right?
Correct.
How do you tell people to get out of the mindset that the market is too saturated and there's not a space for them to create?
Yeah, great. That's a great question. So I would agree with, first of all, the comment and just say a lot of it gets thrown into the bucket of podcasting, but at the end of the day, it's just content creators, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I put everyone
Yeah.
into that category. And honestly, I call everyone digital entrepreneurs. That's really what you
Look at that. You see that? That's your new tag, digital entrepreneur. Put that on the resume,
Put that on a resume.
today.
Because when you're out there building, and you're building really what is a small production company,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, no, I'm building a business. I can go get the LLC based on this business. I can start my expenses. I can start building like that's a business.
Yeah.
Right? And the moment you start as then a creator who owns a production company, you can start paying yourself as talent for your production.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
And for me, when you say that, then it's kind of like, oh no, there's millions of businesses that open and close every day. So it's infinite. I think, sometimes I always say it's like, how many people in the world today? Like 7.5 billion, I think, roughly somewhere around.
Yeah.
So when you say there, like, there's so many people that want to consume content. It's just that your content needs to be relevant to who they are.
Yeah.
So once again, it goes back to my 3 C's again: content, community, commerce. If your content can build a community, you're gonna make money. And I think, there's no shortage of that right now. And then the other side of it, to those who say, well, Cedric, we steal from the saturated, I feel like if you get into this business, it is a business, right? You can be the business of actually helping people create the content. That if you don't necessarily want to be the behind the microphone,
Yeah.
you or the camera, you can start being like the writer, the director, the production company.
Yeah.
It's a whole new vertical that's being built in business that a lot of people should be thinking about. How do I get involved in? Because it's a great opportunity.
So it's really a mindset shift.
It definitely is that.
So it's a mindset shift. But I think it goes back to your first point of what you learned when you were at Apple was the discipline. And most people, I heard the statistic that most people do not get past like 7 episodes if they start a show or podcast. They only do 7. So that's what I heard. Don't quote me. Be one of y'all internet folks out there to be like, that is a lie. It's 30.
Well, I would say that, to your point, it's about discipline and focus, right? Like you just said. And, another thing is operational rhythm, right? We learned at Apple too. I learned at Apple.
Operational rhythm.
Operational rhythm. Because to your point, you gotta get a flow. Like, how do you go about, like, you already have a flow. I can tell by being in bed. You know how you get in, you have your research.
Yeah.
You just know what you're going to do for every one of these podcasts, these episodes, right? And once you do that, you get this rhythm to
Yeah.
like you said. You can get past 7, you can get to 17 or 25, 30 because you start to really work that out. And I feel like most people don't go into it with that mindset. We're looking to find the actual rhythm. Because that's what's needed, right? Because every business requires that. You gotta, if you have a flower shop, that flower shop has to open up
Yeah.
every day as it is at that time.
Yeah.
They close it the next day, or from 8 to 5, whatever it may be. And I think that's what it needs to be here too in this space.
You have had quite the operational rhythm because I think you've had like a 275% growth year after year.
Yeah.
So how have you been able to create that operational rhythm in Culture Genesis and all the other verticals that kind of come under you?
Yeah, first of all, it starts with great people.
Mm.
Like I mentioned, my co-founder in the beginning, like, I'm clear on the fact that, I have a lot of wonderful people that work around to partner with me, because I don't look at it as anyone works for me. I'm big on that. Like, to me, it's like everyone's a partner, and everyone has different roles, responsibilities in this partnership that we're building this company, and doing something for others. I feel like that has been the key, and being open in communication, right? I'm just very open, sometimes very direct, not in a bad way, but just very clear, direct with my, partners, so they know where they stand and where we stand in what we're building. That allows people to really trust you and believe in what you're doing. And that's the key, right? Is, being very much a good partner and keep developing trust between you and those you're working with. That allows you then to say, okay, guys and gals, like, this is what we're going to focus on. They're going to trust that at that way, because you're clear, you have a vision. It's definitely needed. And you want to articulate that vision often. And then just do the same things the same way every time. It's that simple, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, you're going to have a meeting. In our case, big meeting at the first of the month, and then go through certain things every time, into where people just depend upon it, like clockwork.
Yeah.
And that's really what's needed, I think, for success in any business. And I think I got that. I was talking to one of my best friends. We both ran track in college, all through, from kids all the way through college. But being a runner and on a track, the track teams, you kind of on a team, but you're not, because you have your individual race and you go off and do your thing.
Yeah.
And you compete, and it's up on you to, like, stay on top of, like, warming up, get ready for your race, and being at the starting block at the time, and being able to go. It's a very, very self-independent timed kind of sport that I realized that was a part of where my discipline even came from prior to that, right? I just kind of had that kind of innately. But that is what everyone kind of needs, though, to be successful as an entrepreneur. I think that's what you got to have, that self-starter, self-discipline, and staying on task.
Yeah. Because that's how you become trusted, right? And people see that, oh, wait, I know that I'm going to be able to count on him again and again to do that same thing again and again. And I think that that's why you guys brought on a new senior advisor, someone who is very well respected, Bob Johnson, founder of BET, one of the first Black billionaires.
Yes.
He was the first Black billionaire in the States. And so you have gained his trust, and so he's advising. So how did that relationship come about?
Yeah, that's a great question. With Mr. Johnson, Bob Johnson, he was a person that, to his credit, he's always had success.
I mean,
massive success.
Massive.
What he was able to do with BET.
Yeah.
And I think from him, first of all, he has a mindset of, like, not like most billionaires I think do, was like, I'm a billionaire, but I want to help make a bunch of millionaires.
Yeah.
Even your father.
Yeah.
He was the same mindset, and, like, he would be mad at me, say, I want to help make other, millionaires from people like me. And with Bob, it was the same way. But I think the thing that really hooked him about us is he realized we're building the same thing that he built.
Yeah.
Just,
for
this time.
Yeah.
And what that looks like is this. If you look at BET on the surface, some people say, oh, it's supposed to be building certain content for the culture. That's true. But what Bob did was he looked at an industry. Because remember, most people forget, he was actually a lobbyist in DC. He wasn't a media
Most people don't know that though.
He was a lobbyist. And wisely enough, he was a lobbyist in lobbying for the cable industry. And what he started to see was business plans from all these different white folks, right? And he was like, well, where's the one for my people?
Yeah.
You know? And he was like, wait a minute. Let me take one of these business plans and see if I can make it relevant to our culture.
Wow.
And that's what he did.
Wow.
And he pitched a guy named John Malone, who's already he's a multi-billionaire, so very, very successful at it. And cable, and he bought into Bob's vision of creating black entertainment television. And so he went into building out that vertical for us, by us, and way of content, and away you go. So he looks at what we're doing. We're actually building the BET for YouTube. And we call it sometimes the BET for the creator economy, or just at the end of the day, Black YouTube.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing, we're trying to help creators, right, and publishers. Whether it's individual creators like a Kai Cenat, who's super popular on Twitch, or whether it be Volt and Powers, you guys are a partner with us.
Yeah.
Like whoever it looks like, whether celebrity, publishers, or just creators, we bring them into our network and we're partnering with them to help them make more money. And we do that by literally going to Madison Avenue. We present the entire network, and they're buying into advertising on the network. And that's how we're able to help all our partners. So we're helping you make more money on the ads because we're selling at a higher premium to target your audience.
So are you guys like an agency for those people who may not still quite get Culture Genesis? Are you like an agency where you are looking or sourcing content, or people are coming to you to say, hey, I want to be under your platform, under your tutelage? How does that work?
We're not an agency, right? Because, agencies are going to help you, get deeper into like what I'll call branded content, where it's like, and get you connected to an advertiser. They're going to come to you to make some type of content piece.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing, right? You, all the channels in our network, do as they please. They don't change any of the behaviors for the content they're building. When you watch on YouTube and you get to a certain point, and that commercial pops up. Mm-hmm. Well, right now, YouTube is selling the ads mostly on most channels on YouTube. But we have a direct relationship with YouTube that allows us to sell the ad on your YouTube channel.
Oh, wow.
So that's the difference. And so if you look at the channels in our network, they're seeing commercials that have Black actors in them, Latino actors in them. So it's targeting specifically for your audience.
So targeting specifically for your audience. So you got to know your audience and have built your audience up before the Culture Genesis looks at you.
Yeah. So what we do, we work with a lot of creators that get to a certain size,
What's a good size?
That's a good question. Because it's variable, right?
Because, somebody got 2 views over there like, I'm
they
headed your way.
They go. We need creators or publishers to have a channel. First of all, this is YouTube specific. So it's like you have a YouTube channel. You got to a point where you can say, hey, across my channel, maybe over the last year, I've gotten to a point where I have like 1 million views on my content. Mm-hmm. Because the views, what that means is that's how many times someone's come to the content. That's also the next opportunity of us to add the advertisement right after they view the content. So it's like you watching something on YouTube, you got to watch it, and then the ad comes up.
Yeah.
So we need channels who are getting a healthy amount of views for it to even make sense. Because if you're still getting started, we don't have much opportunity to run ads on that channel. So that's the reason for that.
Is there a subscriber number that people should be looking at?
That's funny. You notice I didn't say that, right?
Yeah.
The reason why is because there's some channels who don't have as many subscribers as others, but they get a lot of views. Mm-hmm. It just depends on the channel.
So it's engagement.
It definitely is engagement. There's definitely views on your content. And you can, as a creator, go into your YouTube studio and see that, the data, the analytics. I'm like, okay, how many views am I actually getting?
Yeah. So what is next for Culture Genesis? Whether that's acquisition or new verticals, what's next?
Great question. So from our perspective, we want to continue to grow, right? We want to, like I said, be the BET of the creator economy. So what that looks like for us.
Video sub?
No, video sub. Funny enough, music content was an easy thing to monetize in the past, but not today, because you know all those record labels and publishing companies, they claim all that content. You ain't made a lot of money there anymore like you used to. But with that, what we're doing, we're looking at continuing to add more creators, more publishers to the network. The brand that we own and operate, which is all deaf, to continue to expand there, right? We want to do things that we haven't done a little bit in the past, which is get more into like activations. So like you have to think about like BET as a BET Awards.
Yeah.
There's thoughts about the kind of award shows and other things that we can do to actually bring our community together in real life. Yeah, the IRL, as the kids call it. But anyway, bringing people together in real time. And then really what we want to be in the next 5 years, we really do want to be synonymous with the likes of what people used to think of BET. Not to say I think BET is going to die, but they're going to have to evolve. Like a lot of cable operators, right? They're going to make themselves more relevant in this digital age right now. I think a lot of people do know, still love, celebrate BET, go to BET Awards.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much content people are consuming on the digital platforms on BET. And that's where they got to, of course, to expand to.
Yeah. So when you talk about activations, you guys have partnered. You're one of your new acquisitions, and you've always championed for diversity and in definitely women. You got Exo Nicole, and you have Curly Culture.
Yes, right.
Which also happens to be your new.
You
got a new. You put a ring on it.
I did. Beautiful. Ava Pearl created a platform called Curly Culture. It's actually targeting women of color, right, who have different textures.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that even Dove and Unilever created the Crown Act, right? Because there was so much bias in the workplace and the school for women, wearing like beautiful styles like yours, and people try to tell them what to do with things.
Yeah.
Which never should happen. But I feel like what she's building is a community for that, and bringing women together, especially women, mothers, especially multicultural families too, because there's a lot of that happening, especially out on the West Coast, where some may not know how to even take care of different types of areas. So it's like education, community around that. And so, she's actually having a Curly Con that she's going to be put on in November, November 4th. So like, yes, we're trying to go into with women, and there's like Exo Nicole that you mentioned. They're doing some great stuff. Will Packer owns that.
Yeah.
They're trying to do more there. And then we have like Black Girls Rock, Beverly Bond. So we really are trying to go with vertical channels that also do a lot for women empowerment, just as much as we have some of the other stuff in the other areas. But we think there's a great opportunity to continue to go after multicultural segments. We think the world is more brown than people realize. And we want to be speaking to those audiences.
Yeah. So as we close out our interview, which is, this conversation has gone so fast. I mean, so fast. But what is that one thing that Culture Genesis is committed to in this season as you continue to grow and build and bring awareness to the culture?
Yeah, our biggest thing is empowerment of creators, right? We feel like one of the things we're fighting for, I didn't talk a lot about it in our interview, but there is a implicit bias in algorithms, right? So this goes back to the technology lean of my co-founder and me. When you think about all the wonderful platforms that exist, it's a lot of times when you hire a person of color putting content up on this platform, sometimes it don't get as much reach as, your counterparts platform. And, there's some bias in the algorithm that's not letting you get as many viewers, and therefore you're not making as much money. So therefore, our commitment is to be an advocate to help those creators out there make more money. That's really our key focus, is how can we do it, of course, individual on our own channels, but then bring all these other creators along with us and help them see at least 2 to 3 times more in revenue. That's where we focus. So we're going to be beating that drum forever. We're partnered with, the likes of YouTube and Facebook, Meta, and platforms to help them, right, to bring this back to creators. I think at the end of the day, they want to have equity there, but they think there's still ways in which there isn't. And so we're trying to really help solve that issue.
So one piece of advice you would give to creators who are looking to grow and expand, one piece of advice outside of the focus and the discipline, what's the one thing you would tell them to do?
Be authentic to you. I think, when you talk about, as you mentioned earlier, there's so many people out there doing content, and that there are quite a few. The ones that win, though, are the ones that go to their corner of the world and they do content authentic to themselves, right? Things that they're passionate about. And they find those people who have the same interests and passions as they do.
Yeah.
And it may start small, right? But if you keep doing it long enough in a disciplined approach, it grows.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you look up, it's like, oh, now I got a significant size audience that loves what I love. They love me for who I am and what I do. And that's easy to stay authentic to and consistent with. And sometimes that we see, as people that are trying to put on different things that are not true to themselves, and they find themselves hard to keep up with it. They burn out. And burnout is real even when you're authentic. So you have to, of course, manage that. But that's the big one. It's just got to be true and authentic to yourself. And that will always come through to audiences.
That's a perfect way to end. Be authentic and be true to who you are. You guys, thank you so much, Cedric, for joining us. If you guys are not following, make sure you are following Culture Genesis for all your up-to-date content creator information. Cedric is also on Instagram.
All my handles are Cedric J. Rogers, Rogers. Real easy to find.
Cedric J. Rogers on Instagram. Be sure to follow. Look, you guys, be authentic to who you are. Keep producing the content. Keep showing up, building community, because guess what? It's going to pay off in a big way. You just got to be focused and exercise discipline. Join the Law Village. We got more inspiring, thought-provoking conversations on the way. I'm your girl, Brandy Harvey. Until next time, eat well, give a damn, move your body every single day. Peace.